but it really is when we get the soil right and the soil's healthy, and we've got all the healthy microbes that are in the soil, that are the healthy microbes in our guts. We become healthier, our food product becomes healthier, the environment becomes better, and so it goes hand in hand. So the soil health component is really a profitability, nature-based solution to getting it right and getting it restored back to the way it was years ago. So the genesis of the Graze Master group that we're involved with and we founded started in 2015 when we trademarked the Graze Master breed of cattle. We worked about 30 years on trying to find the perfect composite, and I don't know if it's perfect, but it's perfect enough to work on our place really well and to be very profitable. We're a year-round grazing operation. We do feed some hay, but we try to go year-round grazing. We've changed our calving season to be more in tune with nature. We don't give vaccines, we don't pour, we don't worm, we don't do anything like that. It's 100% all natural cow herd. We used that to start our meat business years ago, which is a small local meat business that we have probably 75 or 100 customers within a 100-mile radius. We know every one of them by name. They're all family to us now, and we couldn't be in business without having that own niche market. Because why go to all the work, build your own breed, and try to make the soil better to make it all healthy if you didn't have your own end market? So I've been a big proponent of agriculture needs a lot of change. Agriculture is broken. When we talk about what people are dealing with in agriculture, I equate it to the Stockholm Syndrome. People have become friends with their captors. So everyone's telling them what to do, everyone's telling them how to spend money or what they should buy. We're just the opposite. We go into it trying to spend as little money as we can for them while making their soil better. That's why a big part of this talk is going to be about how we got involved in the Agoro carbon credit program as producers. We're going to go with those slides, please. So a lot of things we do or everything we do is nature-based. We don't buy any seed to speak of when we want to reseed pastures. This is where we biocarpeted. Took some warm season grasses that were in a bale, spread it. This is in the drought last summer. So it's pretty indicative of we've got the wrong grasses in eastern Nebraska. Grasses that were promoted by the university years ago. Cool season grasses don't do well. They're not deep rooted. They don't do well in our soils. The warm seasons that are coming after just less than a year of laying on top of the soil shows that God had it pretty much figured out and we messed it up in a lot of ways. So we do a lot of biocarpeting. We do a lot of bale grazing. We love to translocate seed free or in hay. We use a lot of hay yet, 60% going to building the soil, 40% going to feed the cow. So when that cow eats what they want, they dump the rest in the soil. We're translocating seed. We're really feeding the nutrients in the soil with what's left of that bale. And we're building topsoil as fast as an inch in 3 months. So before I get into talking about this slide, we'll get into the carbon side of it. And just stop me, guys, if you have any questions on what we're doing on the carbon deal and how it might help you guys, just stop me. This is very informal. Go ahead, Carrie.
We have some new folks come, so maybe now it's kind of retrace and talk about where you were and where you're going to be. So they know your brief background of tea.
So yeah, so for you guys that didn't get a chance to hear me before, we've changed our whole operation. We went to an all-natural program, trademarked our own breed of cattle, went to a soil building type concept, Soil health is where we hang our hats with livestock impact, and we've got the chance to consult with about 250 different people in 42 states, Canada, Mexico, and a little bit in Australia. So the Agoro carbon program was a perfect fit for what we were already doing, or in the ways that we were starting to improve our soil. And it was a way that the cow guy or the livestock guy actually got paid for. So the row crop guys, I'm not bashing them, and Agoro has a great row crop side of that program too. But the cow-calf guy or the sheep guy, they never get any perks. So when we found out that Agoro was recognizing and encouraging pasture and rangeland acres, that's when we really started to look at them. And with all that being said, I'd worked with a couple other carbon companies, and I think we've done due diligence on about 30 or 40 that we didn't want to work with. So I'm that guy that when Agoro goes out and talks, they send the people to me, you know, the doubters and all that, because, you know, it does seem too good to be true. And there's some things that you can't get around that you're already doing. There's a lot of practices that we can do to make that soil healthier. So we're going to put more money in our pocket right away there. But also, do we make it good enough that we're sequestering carbon? Okay, so Agoro buys carbon credits from us, and they sell them to companies all across the world. So the individual producer has the chance to do whatever he wants to do on that piece of land after the base practice changes. Pasture side, it's tightening up your intensive grazing, maybe adding some species to grass, like some clovers or something, and then maybe on some hay ground or some meadows that you do some nitrogen or nutrient type additionalities that you've never done before. Very simple, all will sequester a lot more carbon, but it's after that you're off to the races. So you get to see that initial charge of the soil. That the soil is confused. We're using a lot of synthetics and we're doing a lot of things wrong. When we see the soils to start to respond and get healthier, it's more money. The carbon program is mailbox money at that point.
I don't know, sorry. One of the reasons we're here, passionately speaking to whomever will hear, outside of even sitting here, is we developed the Graze Master Group before Agoro got involved with us. And so what we're trying to really get across today is that we were involved with getting farmers and ranchers more profitability and getting back to the soil and getting things balanced. And Del had been doing work all from London to Nebraska, just from changing his farm and ranch. And so our real core message today is to say, yes, we'd love to have you involved with Agoro. We'd love to have you involved with the Graze Master Group overall though, because if Agoro is not a fit, which we really want it to be, because we think it has genuine benefits, at the very least have a conversation with us, come visit with us out there to understand building your soil and improving your water quality is profitable too. And it benefits your community, your family, your ranch. You all of a sudden have way more ideas about how to be diverse and include more people when you start on this path. Regenerative agriculture came up with that label came after Dell was changing. So that label will change to something else potentially on down the road. But our core mission is people and our backgrounds from farms and ranchers ourselves, and our corporate and experience and spinning off as entrepreneurs now is really to say, we have seen so many ideas out across the country and the world that this is working. And we strive so much to be authentic in that and very transparent in that, because we know farmers are always being told what to do and how to do it. And we're living in farms and ranches ourselves, very different. and such. So I guess I wanted to understand more about our quest, and then of course we were very honored that Agoro came to us with thinking that we had some acumen in this area. So I'll give it back to them.
Does anybody have any questions yet? I know that's a lot of broad-based stuff. So back to what we've done on our place and how it equates to building carbon. People tend to think that once you've got the soil in a really good state, I mean, we've taken some fields and some paddocks that were about 2.5% organic matter, and we've taken them back to 8%. So 8% is the native state of the prairie in eastern Nebraska. And we do that by really cultivating all the things that are in that soil already. Every seed that was ever developed that God put on this earth is still in the soil someplace. And so through different animal grazing practices and maybe translocating some of this stuff through bales and different types of things like that, we go back, Carrie, to that other one. So we start to get things that are coming that eliminate the need to buy any inputs. Bird sweat trefoil is a natural dewormer. It's in several of our paddocks throughout the place now. You can't eat it as a person because I think it's high in arsenic or something like that. But it's a great deal for the animals to munch on and really when we start equating building the soil health equates to saving more dollars on the other side. And we've got to see that where we've really increased that soil health. You know, we're holding more water, we're mitigating drought better, we're getting different forages back, the livestock are healthier. You know, we went from years ago from this huge vet bill, you know, shot after shot after shot, borons, all this stuff, to just a fraction. I mean, the dogs and cats get more vet attention now. So, go ahead. This is just a pretty picture. I always like to have a pretty picture because I'm kind of a hopeless romantic on this. Well, we found out last summer and the last 2 summers in eastern Nebraska that drought can actually come. And that's pretty surprising for us eastern Nebraska guys, even though we deal with ranches all across the country that have been in drought forever. But what we found out was there was a lot of things that really liked the dry weather on our farm, and chicory was one of them. We had that in some of our cover crop mixes, and it started to come back up in the pastures when it was really dry. We tend to try too hard putting out plant species that we think is doing a good job because someone told us it would be doing a good job so they could sell it to us. Yet if we just work with nature, it will all come back and it will be very indicative. It will tell us exactly what we need to be doing. Just like every weed tells us something.
That's a cool thing that Del always does in his consulting is he is not going to bring you an idea that's really complex and try to sell you a very fancy seed mix that you don't need. And so the seed dealers don't like to hear that, but we really go to the brass tacks of understanding that resources are limited. In our travels, you know, we go to Texas, we go to Kansas, we see areas where pivots are no longer in use, where wells are running dry. We know it needs to rain to grow crops. And so we're really about looking and assessing at where you're at on your individual farm and ranch. And it's pretty difficult to paint a broad brush here today for everybody. And Agoro's the same way. They're not going to paint a broad brush for everybody on what you can do. It's a real individualized process of figuring out how the program will work on your farm and ranch and where it really helps you as a farm and rancher.
Hello. That's a good segue into, I just need to walk through how we got involved and signed up with the Agoro program. So it's really easy. You can talk to us and we can have somebody talk to you. That might be the easiest way. But it's super easy. There's a calculator they run, your county, all that, what changes you want to make, if it's on the row crop side, the pasture rangeland side. Just in a couple minutes, you will know if it's worth you guys messing around with this carbon program. What we've been surprised with, and we've worked with 500-acre deals, 250-acre deals, up to, I think our largest one we're working now is 44,000 acres. But the money is a lot better than you think it is. And back to, that cow-calf guy or that livestock guy never gets much of a break. And in like our operation, there's a lot more things we want to do that maybe we couldn't afford or we hadn't really had that inspiration to do yet. But one of the reasons I signed up in the program was I believe in the people, I believe in the program, I don't believe in all of them, I've been involved with a lot of them. They love the pasture rangeland side, which is where I have always felt that is the best place to sequester a lot of carbon. So that equates to more dollars. But one of the reasons I did it was, I want to do some different water improvements. I want to dig some wells and want to really make it so we can, graze a lot differently. Even though we move fence every day and we move cows every day, water's always a limited deal, and it's expensive to do. So that was my personal goal, is to get some money in my pocket, do the right thing. I'm going to do it anyway. So if they want to pay me, that's great, and then they get to use and abuse us in deals like this. So, you have anything to add on that, Carrie?
Another thing Dale doesn't often say is he did not change his farm and ranch into this more natural way with any government program help. So he went this direction before carbon companies were coming and knocking on his door, before there was there wasn't a program. He already was seeing the reason to do this is the future. This is the wisdom he had learned from his grandfather, who's gone, and his great-grandfather, but it's a modern approach to it. And so I guess we also want to promote that while the dollars coming in from an Agoro are really cool and helpful, once again, these practice changes are really advantageous for your business irregardless. And so the Agoro investment in the process is just that modern marketplace saying, this is the future, this is today. We recognize we need to get some things right, but it's also just common sense that's coming around again. So that's what we appreciate lining up with the Agoro team. Everyone on that team in the field part have livestock background. This is a company that once again, we want animals. We see a lot in the marketplace about we don't want meat and this and that. We're not in that game, We understand we need beef, we need poultry, we need lamb. So that is another thing that fit the values of his family and the things that they believed in. So it matched up in those ways. Now, if it doesn't, long run, we'll let them know. Dell's style is let them know, but it certainly looks like that's for sure where they're going to be hanging their hat for the future, and that's exciting.
So a lot of questions come up about, is this a government program? There's no government carbon programs in this country. Australia is totally fully mandated now into their carbon program. What's going to happen on that side of things is, I think down the road, the government's going to mandate a lot of these changes that we're talking about today. And I think if you're ahead of them and you're doing really cool soil health stuff and really trying to make a difference, they're not going to pay any attention to you. You're going to be fine. You're going to be what they want, and they're going to think it was their great idea to save the soil, and it wasn't, because they actually started the degradation of the soil through all their crazy practices. So it's pretty cool to think about. We can control our own destiny. We can do it in a good way that's healthy for our family, for the soil, for the community, for the world. And that's what we want to really be involved with, is our neighbors aren't just local, it's global and local. And that's, we get to deal with a lot of different people all over the country, and they're all over the world, and they're all our neighbors in that sense of they're all trying to do the right thing. Still no questions? Brock, give me a question. Okay, you think about a question. There you go. The opinion of the 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject. That's kind of the carbon market the way it was the last few years. And I was with a company that sent me all over the world. And they're awesome guys too. And I learned a lot. And we come back here to help our friends and family and our neighbors decipher all the stuff that you don't need to make the same mistakes we've made in this. You don't need to take 10 years of time to make your soil better. We can do it in 3. But I didn't know that because back when we started, we were always getting different ideas from everybody. I had a good neighbor that really helped me that's become part of our group now. And it's really rewarding to see people when the light bulb comes on and we build that soil. Brock was out at my place a month or 2 ago. We got to dig in some soil. Even though it's dry, it's healthy. It's ready for that rain. So it's pretty exciting.
And we would be remiss not to mention some of the key group members we have. Ray Ward, Dr. Ray Ward, Ward Laboratories is a member of the Graze Master Group. They have a soil health assessment that's legit in the market because, I mean, Dr. Ray is every day there assessing those at the lab and his team. So to say the market knows this is the future, it is. It's not if but now. And you know, those of you who know Ward Labs, you know that last year, the first year they started, they did a couple thousand tests in their garage in the 80s. Last year they tested about 450,000 samples across the world. And so they're excited about the soil health assessment and how it helps benefit the farmer and rancher. Agoro is excited about working with Ward Labs too because they know the history and wisdom of Ray and the team. And so you start to become real legit when you get those kind of players working together. And of course this is new and it's still being developed. But again, we're working with a group that wants to work with your farm for generations to come. This isn't a quick startup and then we're going to leave. And we really stand by that and want to do that. So that was worth mentioning too.
Other selfless promotion. Hybrid 85 has a booth over here. Nate Belcher, he's a partner of ours, one of the founders of the Graze Master Group. Kirk Peterson at Ainsworth does farm and ranch, financial, succession planning, all that type of stuff. Ken Stewart, XL Ranch in Wyoming, managed a lot of big ranches in Florida and in the southeastern part of the country. He's actually out on the road for us today, working, getting more people signed up for carbon. He consults on the cow side with me. We have a really solid program that we keep adding to every day. So.
And we fully recognize you probably use other labs to test your soil, probably plant other seed besides Hybrid 85. And again, the core mission of our group is educational and bringing what we've learned to the table. So don't think that when we mention these other players that we're saying you have to go to these places to do your business. It's just to show you some of the type of people that are understanding the mission and understanding that solutions are going to take not always selling you something. We really need collaborators that are there to help people learn and without you always thinking somebody's chasing your pocketbook.
No, that's a good point. So the future possibilities, I love this picture because you can't see any of the future possibilities that are out there. You can't touch it, you can't do anything with it, but it's so big. You know, when you think about carbon makes up 0.04% of the atmosphere, when we talk about carbon, everybody's like, well, that doesn't even make any sense. There's 70-some% of nitrogen in the air. Well, I want that too. I want to pull that into the soil too. They're like, why the hype? It's the segue, it's the springboard into bigger things that are coming that we have to all stack. Not for these big companies that are buying all this stuff. That's secondary. They need to pay us money to do that. That's great. But all that stuff makes for better soil health. And we are true champions in knowing that when we get that soil right, you're making more money. You're just hands down Balancing nature and profitability is our logo, and that's exactly what you do. Go ahead. So none of this matters for my generation, but your kids and grandkids, great-grandkids, the neighbors, great-grandkids, none of this will be here if we don't get this right. And I talk like that's very dire. Well, we don't have 60 harvests left, we have 30. The British are way off base with that. We've only got 30 harvests left. This soil is degraded, we keep pummeling it, we keep doing the wrong thing with it. And nature's starting to lash out and come back at us. Am I talking about climate change and all that? No, I'm talking about I've contributed to making this system, this environmental system, not right anymore. So those are my granddaughters, they're my fencing crew. That's a pretty average day of pulling up fence and running reels at Ficke Cattle Company. Allie was so excited, she thought we were done. We had to go string that all out. So she was pretty excited about that. So that's my crew.
And a lot of the ways we can make these improvements are with people. His granddaughter is a great testament. She's very young. She can do this work. It's simple, not as expensive tools as some of the things we use on the farm or think we need. Always investing in the bigger this and that. We love to sit down with each family and figure out how to be creative with what you already have. And maybe some of the things you don't need anymore. Or maybe getting together with the next generation that's kind of bugging you and you're like, oh my gosh, what ideas do you have? We can be a good, I don't know, we're not really mediators, but a good communication bridge with all that and getting some new ideas on the table that you maybe don't want to implement or right now, but hey, let's think about making a plan. And I guess that's what's most exciting is seeing like his daughter-in-law is from California. I mean, she wasn't from a farm, but Dell found a way to get her passion for now being there implemented in a business sense on their farm and ranch. And so I know there's somebody in every farm and ranch family, or maybe a neighbor, or somebody that's interested in making that go. And you may not realize, all the ways that their creativity brings to the table. And we're not saying it's always going to be easy to do that, but we certainly have the experience to help bring that forward if you're interested.
Leave that. Go back for a second. You'll see in every picture, well, that middle one you can't see, the spade, how prevalent the spade is. We talked to the Kansas-Nebraska bankers shows or whatever they called those circuses, something. The last few years, they didn't ask us back. But I said, if you're borrowing money on or lending money on anything over the cost of a spade, you're doing a huge disservice to the environment, to agriculture. The spade is the most important tool on the farm or ranch. Dig, dig, dig. That soil talks to you. You can see the history. If it starts to smell beautiful, you've got soil. If you can't smell it, you still have dirt. But dig, dig, dig. That's just our information. I'm Del Ficke. That's Craig Hofsnyder. Clay Creighton's our account rep out of Iowa. We've got a booth over here. Over that way. Yeah, on the white carpet. And you guys can come and talk to us or give us hell or something like that. You can go to grazemastergroup.com and learn more about what we're doing. We're going to be a little short on this. We don't need to. It's like the pastor and sermon, So if you guys have any questions, now's the time. If not, we can answer them later.
Regarding the Agoro program, parts of the question, what's the geographic footprint of eligible areas? Like, can you do it almost anywhere? And then with that, I was looking at some of the practice stages on here. I can think of customers out to San large ranches where, kind of have an ecosystem that might be limited on the things that they can do. So what does the benefit of Agoro look like there as far as the slow payment possible here? Just kind of what's this look like across the geography?
Sure, it depends. And so we're in every state. That's not a problem. We're working with people in every state now. In every area, it's just like on the regenerative ag side, we know we can change the soil health and make it better in every area, but it takes tweaking. And so We've got a guy halfway between Alliance and Broadwater, 12,000 acres. That sand is so, it's almost like flour. Can we intensively graze as hard on there as we do in eastern Nebraska? No. It would be a train wreck. We would set it back generations. So his deal looks a little different, where we're going to maybe add some different species on some of those, blowouts, those hilltops, all that kind of, hill ground, and then work on the hay ground, the meadows and things like that on some nitrogen or some nutrients and stuff like that. There's nothing that we can't get around. If you're doing it already, we can add to it. No-till is the hardest thing to get around. If you're no-tilling, you're just kind of no-tilling. So, did that answer any of your questions? Okay.
Any certain grasses more carbon friendly?
I know one that isn't. Fescue is really hard to sequester carbon with. Brome is not great. A lot of grasses like that. Like Roger, on your place where you've got a lot of warm season grasses, God built the perfect carbon sequestration deal, and in areas like that, we're adding maybe a clover or something to it. And so that's a great question, because it does make a difference. And that's why, we tend to concentrate from eastern Nebraska down to the southeast part of the country, because normally we get rain. I was in Alabama last week, and one of my clients down there, he gets 100 inches of rain a year. Okay, he sequesters the hell out of carbon, because he grows year-round, something's growing year-round, and it's raining. And those are the two things. You need moisture, and you need, a living root all the time. So I would take 5 or 10 inches of his ample rainfall. But yeah, it does make a difference in areas. Eastern Montana is harder than and you don't sequester as much, but it can be done any place. It just takes some tweaking.
I'm not sure how much time we have left, but I just want to reiterate. I guess look at Agoro carbon like you would look at like Dell does, like you look at your own farm and ranch. Look at your farm and ranch first. The Graze Master Group wants to promote your farm and ranch first as a real deal. We're not coming in to say you're a Graze Master farmer. It's your farm. And we're extremely passionate about making that an actual fact and not a company brand that you're running on your farm ranch. So Agoro, we are very excited that they are a trusted partner, but they're a trusted partner, just as all the people that work with you are. You're in charge. We're trying to put agriculture in charge of themselves again. People got in the way, that being the case, and Dell sent a lot of them packing. His mom told him, get them packing. Let's be profitable again. So we're just hearkening on the wisdom of the past. If you visit our booth, we'll be real with you and we'll tell you facts and truth. We have unbridled ourselves from a lot of the control we had in the past. Now we have our own voice again. So we appreciate you taking the time today to brave very bad weather, maybe coming, to listen to us talk. A lot of people have your ear, and we appreciate a little bit we got today.
Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate everybody coming.